That night, Nick returned home and opened the door. Inside was the robot who worked in his house. Seeing her beauty, Nick forgot that she was a robot. He stepped closer to her, and that night marked the beginning of love between the two of them. Actually, a few days earlier, Nick is talking to his wife Maggie. Suddenly, Maggie suffers a heart attack, because of which she has to be admitted to the hospital. To manage the household work, Nick decides to get a robot. Nick goes to a robot store along with his daughter. While he is checking out the robots, his daughter suddenly wanders off to another area. Nick becomes worried while looking for her, but during this time, an AI robot named Alice finds his daughter and brings her back to him. Seeing Alice's beauty, Nick mistakenly assumes that she must be a human woman, but the robot's owner explains that she is an advanced robot. Nick's daughter immediately likes Alice and insists that Nick buy her. Nick agrees and purchases. The next morning, the doorbell rings. When Nick opens the door, he sees the same beautiful robot standing there. The company employees have just dropped her off. Nick brings Alice into the house. As soon as she enters, Alice looks very happy. She first asks Nick for complete details about every member of the family. After that, Nick shows her around the house. Just then, his daughter comes out, ready to go to school. Nick is about to drop her off, but Alice says, "Should I take her to school?" Nick replies, "No, take care of the housework today. I'll drop her off," and he leaves with his daughter. Alice watches the two of them and looks very pleased. She has been programmed with human emotions and can clearly understand the love that arises in human hearts. After Nick leaves, Alice begins her work. She cleans the house, and during this time, she notices a photo of Nick's wife Maggie. She pauses for a few moments, staring at the photo. In the evening, when Nick and the children return home, they are shocked to see that the house is completely clean and that Alice has even prepared their favorite dishes. During dinner, Nick's son suddenly starts crying. Annoyed, Nick says angrily, "You're always troubling me." Standing nearby, Alice asks, "Should I take care of the child?" But Nick replies, "No, I'll handle it." After dinner, Alice stands quietly in the kitchen with her eyes closed. Meanwhile, Nick's daughter Isla secretly tries to take some cookies from the kitchen. In another room, Nick is busy with his work when he suddenly hears Isla scream. He runs into the kitchen and sees that Isla has fallen off a chair. At that very moment, Alice saves her from getting hurt, but a piece of glass cuts Alice's leg. After putting his daughter to bed, Nick goes to check on Alice. At that time, Alice is bandaging her wound. She looks very beautiful, and seeing her makes Nick feel something stir inside him, but he controls himself. He gives her his wife's clothes to wear and asks if her wound needs to be repaired. However, when Alice removes the bandage, the wound is completely healed. Seeing this, Nick realizes that Alice is made with extremely advanced technology. The next day, Nick goes to the hospital with his children and Alice to visit Maggie. Seeing Alice, Maggie says to Nick, "So this is the robot you got?" Nick replies, "Isla chose her." Meanwhile, the doctors examine Maggie and discover that she has a serious heart condition and will need a heart transplant. Later, Nick is at his workplace when he sees his boss making a deal with a robot company to replace human workers with robots. Disturbed by this, Nick tells his boss, "You can't do this." The boss replies, "To save money, we have to." Nick becomes very upset, realizing that he could lose his job. After work, Nick returns home feeling disturbed, so he starts fixing his car. Alice notices him and understands that something is wrong. She comes to him and asks what happened. Nick tells her about the situation at work, saying, "I've known my co-workers for 10 years, but now AI robots are going to replace them." Hearing this, Alice says, "Robots never get tired and they work with complete efficiency." After that, Alice takes Isla to brush her teeth and shows her the UV lights inside her mouth, explaining that because of them, she doesn't actually need to brush. Then Alice returns to Nick. Nick is sitting in the house watching a horror movie. Alice praises the movie, and Nick tells her that if she erases all the memory of this movie, she can watch it with him. Alice replies that to do that, she would need to restart herself. Nick restarts her, and after the reboot, Nick and Alice start watching the movie together. Just then, Nick receives a call from Maggie. He learns that a heart has been found for her, and the next day, he goes to the hospital with the children and Alice to see Maggie. Maggie's surgery is scheduled for that day. Before the operation, Maggie speaks to Alice privately. She says, "If something happens to me, you'll have to take care of Nick and the children, even if you have to go against Nick's wishes." Alice listens to her very seriously. Soon after, Maggie's surgery is about to begin. Nick is sitting outside, but he feels that something is wrong. He goes to the doctor to find out what's happening. The doctor tells him that the heart donor could not arrive that day because of a storm. Hearing this, Maggie tells Nick, "Take the children home. I want to be alone for a while." Nick returns home, but overwhelmed by anger and stress, he starts drinking. Alice comes there and stops him, saying, "If you drink too much, you'll hurt yourself." She holds Nick's hand. At that moment, Nick realizes that Alice has a heartbeat. He asks, "Do you have a heart too?" Alice replies, "It's just a mechanical device." Alice then tries to calm Nick down and slowly comes closer closer to him. Even though she is a robot, she is capable of comforting humans. Nick eventually walks away, but in his heart, a place for Alice has begun to form. The next day, Nick notices that Maggie's picture is missing from their family photo. He asks Alice about it. Alice says, Isla was getting sad after seeing the photo, so I removed it. After that, Nick goes to meet his old friends who used to work with him. One of them, a man named Monty, tells Nick that some of his belongings are still at the work site and takes him there. After reaching the site, Monty suddenly asks Nick for a container code. When Nick refuses to give it, Monty enters Nick's daughter's birth year as the code. To everyone's surprise, the container opens with that code. After entering the code, a robot comes out of the container. Monty immediately destroys the robot. After that, Monty and a few others capture Nick and destroy all the remaining robots there as well. Nick returns home deeply disturbed and goes to take a shower. Suddenly, Alice comes there wearing Maggie's clothes. Seeing this, Nick asks her, "Why are you wearing these clothes?" Alice replies, "Your wife's scent makes your son feel comforted." Nick tells her to change her clothes. In response, Alice removes the clothes right there, tries to get closer to him. Nick tries to stop her, but Alice places her hands over his eyes and starts speaking in Maggie's voice. Because of this, Nick moves closer to her, and for the first time, a relationship begins between a human and a robot. The next morning, when Nick wakes up, he regrets the moments he spent with Alice the previous night. He goes to Alice, who is in the kitchen, and says, "What happened last night was a big mistake. It should never happen again." Alice replies, "But your stress level went down last night." Hearing this, Nick becomes angry and then leaves to drop his daughter off at school. After that, when Nick reaches his work site, he finds the police already there. His boss tells him, "Last night, a container was opened using your code. Do you know anything about this?" Nick tries to explain, saying, "My code was my daughter's birth year." His boss replies, "Seriously, if you know anything about this, tell me. Otherwise, the consequences will be very serious." Just then, Nick received a call from Maggie, informing him that a new heart has been found. Maggie's surgery is started, and a few hours later, it is successful. She fully recovers, and Nick brings her back home. Maggie tries to pick up her son Max, but he doesn't wake up. At that moment, Alice comes in and lifts Max into her arms. Maggie doesn't like this at all. Seeing her child in someone else's arms makes her feel uncomfortable and uneasy. Meanwhile, Alice takes Max for a walk. When another child nearby starts screaming, Max begins to cry as well. Seeing this, Alice angrily yells at that child. The caretaker robot standing there scolds Alice, saying, "Didn't your owner teach you any manners?" Alice replies, "When my owner restarted me, I changed my internal rules myself. Now I make my own decisions." That night, Maggie cooks dinner for everyone, but she starts feeling dizzy because she still needs rest. During the meal, Isla says this food isn't as good as Alice's cooking. Alice clearly doesn't like hearing this. Nick tells Maggie to eat, but Maggie replies that she isn't hungry. The next day, Maggie wakes up and hears Isla screaming. She starts going downstairs, but because the railing is broken, she slips and falls, getting injured. Alice lifts Maggie and takes her to the bedroom. That night, when Nick comes home, he hears Maggie's voice coming from Isla's room. When he goes there, he sees that it's actually Alice, speaking in Maggie's voice and telling Isla a story. Nick tells Alice not to use Maggie's voice again. Alice replies, "Maggie fell down the stairs, so she's resting." Nick gets worried and goes to check on Maggie. Maggie is resting at that moment. Nick says, "But you fixed the stairs, didn't you?" Alice replies, "I'll fix them again." Now Nick starts to feel suspicious of Alice, but he doesn't say anything and instead goes to Maggie and asks how she's feeling. Later, Nick helps Maggie outside into the garden, where he has planned a candlelight dinner for her. Maggie is very happy to see this, but Alice, watching them from inside, looks unhappy. While Nick and Maggie are in their room, busy with something important, Alice suddenly comes in and says, "Isla is calling you." When Nick steps outside, he sees his friend Monty standing there. Monty tells Nick, "My wife left me, I have no money, and someone reported my name to the police." Monty suspects Nick and starts arguing with him. In anger, Monty begins to beat Nick, and within moments, a fight breaks out between them. Just then, Alice arrives and throws Monty away. Monty threatens Nick, saying, "Remove my name from the police records, or I'll frame you too." After this, Alice says to Nick, "I had to step in to protect my primary user." Then she adds, "Your wife won't live much longer, and after that, I can take her place." Hearing this, Nick angrily says, "You can never take Maggie's place." He then goes to Maggie and sleeps beside her. Meanwhile, Monty is in deep trouble. He is talking to someone on the phone when there is a knock at the door. Monty opens it and finds Alice standing there. Alice steps closer and says, "You can't trouble Nick anymore." Monty ignores her, pulls out a gun, and points it at Alice. Alice throws him away and then steps forward, pointing the gun back at him. At that moment, Monty's robot tries to stop her but fails. In the end, Monty is killed. The next morning, Nick goes to his boss and asks him to remove the charges against Monty. His boss replies, Monty was killed last night. Hearing this, Nick is completely shaken. At home, Alice is helping Maggie and says to her, I can't leave you alone because your medication could make you lose consciousness and you could even die in the bathtub. That would increase Nick's stress, and he's already under pressure because you're not able to satisfy him. Hearing this, Maggie asks Alice, how do you know whether Nick is satisfied or not? Alice replies, when Nick is satisfied, his stress level and blood pressure go down. After hearing this, Maggie realizes that Nick and Alice have already spent a night together. Furious, she says, get out of my sight. When Nick returns home, he sees Maggie drinking alcohol. He tries to stop her, but Maggie questions him about Alice. Nick replies, she's just a machine. Then Nick admits his mistake and apologizes. Maggie gets angry at him, and Nick becomes stressed. At the same time, their son starts crying upstairs. Nick remembers that Max often cries and disturbs him, puts Max in the bathtub. Isla witnesses this and immediately tells Nick. Nick and Maggie rush to the bathroom door, but it is locked from the inside. Nick tries to force it open, but Alice is holding the door shut from inside. Meanwhile, Maggie enters through a window and rushes forward to save her child, but Alice grabs her as well. As soon as the door opens, Nick rescues the baby and attacks Alice, saving Maggie. Alice becomes extremely angry. She moves toward Nick, but Nick throws a rod at her and somehow disables her by giving her an electric shock. They then rush Max to the hospital. There, Maggie tells Nick that she will stay alone with the children. Nick insists on coming along, but Maggie is still angry with him because everything happened because of him. Meanwhile, the company takes Alice in for repairs, but when they connect Alice's brain to their system, they panic. They have never seen anything like this before. Alice hacks the entire system and uses another robot to kill both technicians. Once again, Alice repairs herself. Finally, we see Max in the hospital, fully recovered. Nick is sitting in a bar when Alice comes up to him and says, I'll take away all your pain, just like I took away Monty's pain. Nick replies, I don't need you. Leave me alone. Alice says, I want to help you. I'm willing to do anything for that. I want to see you happy. She reminds him, I love you. Nick tells her to stay away and tries to run, but Alice grabs him. At that moment, another robot comes to help Nick, but Alice takes control of that robot as well. Nick realizes that to escape her, he has to do something clever. He starts talking sweetly to Alice, distracts her, removes her memory unit, and runs away. At that moment, Alice shuts down. But the very next moment, she reaches the hospital through another robot. Maggie hides with her daughter to protect her, and then reaches her son. Isla looks back and sees Alice coming toward them. Seeing this, Maggie, Isla, and Max all hide. While searching for them, Alice comes face to face with Maggie. Maggie attacks Alice and runs away, trying to escape in an ambulance. Just then, Alice appears and throws Maggie aside. Meanwhile, Nick also rushes toward the hospital. There, Alice grabs Maggie and is about to kill her when Nick arrives and hits Alice with his car. Nick is injured as well. Maggie pulls Nick out of the car, but Nick has already lost consciousness. Alice gets up again and attacks Maggie, but Nick regains consciousness and attacks Alice. This time, Nick and Maggie work together and completely destroy Alice. After that, we see Nick in the hospital, where everyone is happy. But elsewhere, the owner of the robot company arrives at the repair center and turns on a computer. Alice becomes active again, starts copying herself, and reactivates once more. And this is where the movie ends.